I keep changing my bicycle seat. I'm gonna have to do it again. I think I'll go back to the original one. Hi. So, it's been a really mild summer so far. It's August 7. Thoughts are going out to Hiroshima. I've been there many times when I was in Japan. It's a beautiful city, nice people, really, really good okonomiyaki. It's like a Japanese style pizza made with eggs and all kinds of good ingredients. Highly recommend it. Anyway, terrible tragedy. I don't know why human beings can't avoid this kind of nonsense, but we're powerful and we're arrogant. Bom dia. We're powerful people, arrogant people, competitive, and violent. You know, it's a scale, right? Depends on your nature-nurture situation, your context, your culture, how violent you are, period of history and all that stuff. But, you know, it's there. It's inside us. The mean, nasty brute is inside everyone. Big apples. So you have to figure out how to control that, and cultures have come up with all kinds of ways over the years. To a certain degree, obviously, religion is a thing, right? A lot of mysteries in the universe. People come up with stories. God suggests we do things in a certain way. And then powerful people enforce those rules. They become codified in our culture. And in order to be an upstanding member of a community, we're expected to obey these rules. So we all fit in, we all play the game by the same rules, and we kind of get along, and so on and so forth. Then we bump up against people with different rules and different cultures. And problems happen. Or we're competing for resources, multipolar traps, these kinds of things, Thucydides traps, blah, blah, blah. You know all about it. And we fight, and then, science, engineering, and technology ramps up in the 19th century, and our weapons become more and more effective, more destructive, till we get to a point where we have nuclear bombs and then hydrogen bombs and so on, and very fast delivery systems, hypersonic missiles, ACBMs, nuclear submarines with ACBMs, artillery that can fire mini nukes. We have decided for some reason to leave the biological weapons aside for the moment. Bom dia. And gas, poison gas and whatnot. But the nukes are still pretty nasty, I'd say. Yes, sirree, Bob. Pretty nasty. So, there's arguments to be made about the deterrence, and has that helped us over the past 80 years? And it probably has. Mad, mutually assured destruction. Then we get to this day and age. We're still underneath the threat of these terrible weapons. And AI is coming along. Basic AI is not a big problem, I don't think. But it gets more and more powerful. And the ability to create fake, deep fakes and whatnot, that's pretty troubling. At the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, who's watching the watchers? Who has the authority to decide what's real and what's not real? Depending on your ideological bent, you may hate fact checkers. How do they know what the facts are? Poor Richard Dawkins. He's just trying to advocate an evidence-based approach to the world. And now it seems like he's losing the battle. What evidence? I don't care about evidence. I care about how I define a word. If I say I'm female, and so on. You know, the total exaggerated bastardization of postmodernist philosophy, which had a decent purpose in the beginning to push back against the status quo, elite power, so on. But now we all just make up our own reality. But what's the percentage of people in the world that are that extreme in their approach to reality? At any rate, we create social norms and cultural mechanisms, belief systems that help us regulate our behavior and interpret our world. Religion's good for that in some ways, but woefully inadequate for our modern world. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't get meaning from your religion, your faith, your belief in God or whatever. But this is all faith-based. Can you convert the world? Should you convert the world to your beliefs? If we were all Muslim ISIS, would the world be better? You know, if you ask yourself these questions. And of course, we're never going to have that kind of uniformity because Star Trek isn't going to happen. But within a multipolar, diverse world, can we live and let live in peace? Trade the things that we need with a more limited global system of trade and transport. Live within the constraints of our region proudly, allowing our culture to flourish and express itself in all of its sublime and beautiful and unique, diverse glory. Who knows? We don't know. If you have young children, what are you going to do? How will you use the trust that you have when your children are young before they become teenagers and tell you to buzz off? Buzz off, Dad, you're boring. So, what are you going to tell them? How's the world going? Today it's going to be 38 degrees here, so it's going to be a scorcher, especially for my region, my microclimate, which is maybe 5 miles or so inland from the ocean. If you follow Globe Hackers Facebook page, you know what's going on in the world from various points of view and perspectives. And you've read a lot about the climate and the carbon situation and our economic paradigm and so on. And you've read a lot of books and you're smart. So you can imagine what might need to be done to make things work better today and tomorrow and for your children 10, 20 years down the road. Anyway, this whole thing about AI, religion, the new God. Oh, a wooden house. That's nice. The AI God. We created these stories and these cultures, human beings did, that, it's embedded. It's always been that way throughout history. Different approaches to living. And once, the age of wonder and the age of reason and the age of, the Enlightenment and all that stuff came along, we started more and more to think that we were divinely destined to exploit the world, and that was our job, just transforming the world to serve us, those of us who could transform the world, who had the power and the energy and the resources and the wherewithal and the ambition. And we did that like gangbusters. You can listen to Nate Hagen's about the energy pulse. And we did it well for a couple hundred years and find ourselves in this predicament. And people have a lot of information now. So regardless of whether they can parse the information, understand it perfectly well or not, they know something's up. Some people want to get trad or rely on religious and salvation or whatever. Other people want to fix things. People think stopping oil will fix it or something. But it is true that our social systems, our political systems, our economic systems, our financial systems, our ecosystems, and nature itself on this planet are complex systems, and you mess with them and it changes a lot of things. So geoengineering and whatnot, big unknown. And even with super quantum computers and large data sets, we still would probably screw things up to a certain degree. And we don't know how to deal with our externalities, our mistakes. So the main concern for me with the AI God is, whether it's general intelligence or just the bog standard, machine learning and large language models and whatever. Having a computer program your app for you by just entering in text prompts. I think all those tools are helpful, and they can be helpful. Computers can be very good to help us find solutions and maintain solutions in many cases. But in terms of like social control and deciding, what's good behavior, what's bad behavior, what the virtues and vices are. Look at these beautiful little creatures. Isn't that nice? Hello, horsies. Boa tarde. Oh, bom dia. Sorry, it's still morning. You are a cute coulter foal. What are you? I can't see. It's too bright. How are you guys? Oh, are you still pregnant? No, you're not pregnant. Look at those beautiful animals. Aren't they lovely? And they look so friendly and beautiful. Gorgeous. I love seeing that. I'm still lucky in my region because we still have birds of prey, we still have hedgehogs, we still have animals and birds and insects. And some places in the world there just aren't any anymore. My friend in the States and other places have complained that they're not seeing wild animals anymore. Insect apocalypse and whatnot. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. Who's going to watch the watchers? You know, it's like in China or whatever, where there's more social control. We know our governments are not necessarily full of evil people, but they're less competent than we'd like. They're not evidence-based, science-based. They're still captured by corporations and profit. So there are good arguments to be made that they're less than ideal for managing the development of the world today and in the future. Any green transition or whatnot's going to require lots and lots of minerals, lots and lots of burning oil. And if we still have this consumerism, these values, we're going to eat the world anyway. You've heard me say that a million times. But I wouldn't be inclined to trust governments to social engineer us very well. Maybe if we lived in a different culture and we had different kinds of leaders. If you think an autocratic solution to our problems is the thing, I'm sorry I keep mentioning Curtis Yarvin. Who gives a fuck about him? But yeah, if you're going to have the benevolent king or corporate dictator fix it all, you better have a pretty special human being. And I just can't think of one off the top of my head. From anybody around the world. I just don't see it. I don't think we produce men and women of that quality and wisdom today. We're all products of, especially in the West, in the Northern Hemisphere, abundance, great abundance, and lots of energy and resources and consumer goods. We've had a pretty good run. And we're all about money, profit, prestige, social signaling, status. And so I don't see these people as people who give a damn about your grandchildren. They don't care. It's all lip service. They just want to make a buck and stay on top of the game. So we don't have autocrats, dictators, whether it's Xi Jinping or anybody else in the world, that are really capable necessarily of shepherding us through the challenges we face. There's no Salazar on the horizon, and would Salazar even be appropriate for 2023? I doubt. I doubt it. People keep trying to find right-wing leaders like that who are religious and have the right dogma, that are going to be a good daddy figure. Obviously, we're not going to have a matriarchy. And they just can't find people because they're the same greedy assholes captured by corporate power and money as everybody else. So yeah, who's going to watch the watchers? Who is going to program these things? And if it were crowdsourced, if it's just programmed on our data, do you think that's going to be a good thing? Do we make great decisions all the time? Do we think slow and carefully about stuff? Are we evidence-based thinkers? Do we understand science, engineering, and technology, all these black boxes and genies out of the bottle? No, we just want fast fashion. I went and saw Oppenheimer at Colombo Shopping in Lisboa. And it's a huge shopping mall with every shop, every brand in the world is there. And people just want to go in there and buy stuff. You go into H&M or one of these kind of stores, and you can get a t-shirt and a pair of shorts for €9. I'm thinking about all the energy that went into that and just trying to do the math, and I can't figure it. I'm just not fucking smart enough to square the circle, man. So obviously it has to do with economies of scale. If you can produce enough and sell enough at a certain price, you can squeeze some profit out of those low prices. But we're really undercutting the future when we're borrowing today to buy cheap shit that our children are going to have to pay for with real scarcity, not fake scarcity, in service of capitalism and some kind of economic competition. But real scarcity when the minerals are running out. Okay, so that might not happen for 50 years. We're still on the downward trend, man. And we're killing. There's the sixth extinction, and there's climate change, and there's all these other inequalities that are fueling social unrest. So that's not going to get any better because we're not making any efforts to make any of that better. We don't give a fuck. We want our fast fashion. Get a slice of pizza and buy a nice t-shirt for €3. That's what we want. And go see Oppenheimer. Big screen, Christopher Nolan, what a genius, what an egomaniac. And it was fun, I loved the movie. Great acting. But did we learn anything? Everybody's going to walk away from that going, yeah, we had to blow him up, nothing other could have happened. Well, it is what it is, it was what it was, and it shall be what it shall be by virtue of having been. But, yeah, I know it happened. You can look back and think of counterfactual history scenarios, look at the data, look at the communiques and all that, and say, another 4 weeks of at war with Japan, what would it have mattered? Anyway, we fucking blew up every city in the whole country. We firebombed it. We invented napalm to kill Japanese civilians. And later, of course, you know the story in Vietnam. Well, isn't that fucking beautiful? We don't give a hoot, folks. We want our stuff. I'm going to go this way. Yeah? No, I'm not going to go that way. Because it's a dead end. Whoa, that's a cool fixer-upper. So, whew. Yeah, it's hot. Thing about this weather is like you're in the breeze because you're riding a bicycle, and then when you stop you realize how hot it is, and you're still sweating, but you're evaporating the sweat very quickly off your skin because of the wind when you're riding. So yeah, can be problematic. I'll go up this way. Thank God for electric motors. So, would AI have helped us make a better decision about nuking Japan? Or would it have just reinforced our biases? Heuristics are needed, thinking shortcuts to survive. Because if we always thought slow, we'd die. But You know, how are these gonna be programmed, these prompts into the system? And once they start learning from themselves, you have the alignment problem and all that stuff. First, do no harm principles and whatever. Take care of your human creators. Humans are gods because they created the general intelligence. The general intelligence becomes God because sooner or later he knows better, or it knows better, or they know better, or she knows better, or a cisgender AI knows better. But if you think about it for a while, you don't have to read a whole bunch of books. Intuitively, you'll say, this is problematic. Even if it was trained on your data and your prompts, it wouldn't be perfect, right? You're not perfect. I'm not. We all have regrets, and maybe we could have done things better as a parent or whatever. So it's coming fast. Somebody's going to have to say, that's a deep fake of Donald Trump riding a donkey and playing Dixie on a fiddle in Yemen. But this one over here of him talking nonsense in Oklahoma is a real one. We got watermarks. We have really amazing algorithms and applications that can ferret out the deep fakes. And then after the deep fake's out there and everybody believes it's true, all we have to do is tell them it was fake. Fact check. And all the little wingers, lefties and righties and whatever, utopians and rationalists, will go, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, it was fake. All right, I'm going to update my priors and recognize that I got caught up in a thing like Russiagate, and just say, well, okay, it happens. I'm only human. I made a mistake. And then you're going to go, okay, cool. Now I believe it's fake. And I'm going to go to that rally in Oklahoma, to see Donald, the real Donald Trump, blue check mark, $8 a month. No, I'm the premium real guy because I pay 14. Because I've used biometrics and given my bank account to Elon. Yeah, water boy. Carry water. Pom-pom boys. How many definitions can I come up with? A cheerleader for the status quo who hasn't learned anything new in 20 years. How about that one? Carry my water for me. True believer. So somebody, the AI decides, it's going to feed us shit. We've already been on a diet of crap for 15, 17, maybe 20 years, maybe more.
People rarely take advantage of all my services. Let me help you wash up. Cleanliness is next to godliness.
With social media. And it's just going to be more, more selling, more marketing, more consuming. There's not going to be any messages out there saying, you don't need all that shit. Make friends, build a community, meditate, practice Orthodox Christianity, do something nice. No, it's not going to tell you that. I mean, there'll be elements that do. But Barbie's going to sell, and those other, the vegetables of the information world, the organic, perfectly grown, from beautiful black soil, alive and complex soil, with all the minerals and micronutrients, they're going to say, that diet's going to be nothing. They're going to want a pill. Well, I go to the AI site, it tells me everything I need to know in 5 minutes. And then I do a bong hit because pot's legal where I am. It's all beautiful, man. Chill out, relax. Don't get so serious. Hello, Alsatian, an Alsatian. Alsatian. Yeah, we are going to bark. Somebody should fix up that old windmill. And then I'll come over and visit. I'll bring some ouzo and some stuffed grape leaves and some color pencils and some watercolor paper when I visit as a gift. So that's what I see it coming down to. It's a conundrum, and if we slowed down and if our incentives were different, like, I'm just rolling out this AI to help humanity live better, to tackle inequality, to protect the species that are still of life that are still left on the planet, to conserve energy and resources for future generations, to develop comedy content so everybody can laugh a lot every day, and beautiful music that isn't canned music, isn't commercial, isn't produced to be just a fucking commodity. I'm gonna use my AI for that. No, it's not gonna happen. I wish, maybe in some small, motivated community, intentional community, some DAO somewhere, they'll say, yeah, well, we've got this, out of the box AI, programs, and we're gonna integrate it and improve it and teach it. We're gonna train it to make our DAO, decentralized autonomous organization, city, our municipality, into a beautiful paradise. We're gonna be a test case, man. People come by here, take a look at this Dunbar number with 3-4 satellite cities of Dunbar number communities, living, trading in harmony with one another. They're gonna say, I want to do that. And suddenly, like 1,000 points of light, and George Bush will be painting a painting of it. All these intentional communities, 1,000 points of light, springing up around the world, in Siberia, in Western Ukraine, in Romania. Even Tate's gonna join one and repent and become a feminist and give all of his $1 trillion to charity. Oh, thank you, Tate. Anyone can reform. Based on the information that's kind of popular and out there, if it's not curated carefully by a whole bunch of elders and young people who are wise, it's just gonna come up with more garbage. Sugar-free. Garbage. Garbage in, garbage out cliche on steroids. So that's what I'm thinking, my friends. Not too nice. You follow all these people who have been looking at these issues for decades or made careers out of it. Like Richard Dawkins said, he's talking to Boghossian, and he said, the only thing that makes me want to die is thinking that I'm going to wake up one morning and the world's just not going to care about evidence anymore. Rigorous scientific evidence. And I was thinking, and he paused, and you could see it in his face. He was going, I'm losing the battle here. Am I? Am I not? Is all this stuff I'm seeing about wokeness and whatnot, is that just a Steven Pinker phenomenon? It's a logical fallacy. Or is it true? he looked for a minute like, oh no, maybe I should stop my podcast and stop writing my new book and just snuff it. Sorry, I didn't mean that. We want Richard to live another 45 years. There's nothing wrong with Richard, man. He's just pointing out some of the shortcomings of religious belief and apologetics. But I don't think he necessarily wants everybody to be like him. He's been trying to make us excited about science and evidence-based inquiry. Yeah, so Richard, he's just been trying to help us learn about the Neil deGrasse Tyson glory of the most beautiful thing about learning how nature works. I mean, yeah, the Upanishads, great literature, but, chemistry, the periodic table, that's pretty amazing. Space telescopes? Wow. That gets me excited. You can see the beauty in it. So, he's trying to make you understand the greatest show on earth, which is natural selection, and just how life works. DNA, chemistry, man, it's amazing. Think of all the chemists that were on the Manhattan Project, because you're building explosives. But biochemistry, right? Proteins folding, wow, it's pretty amazing. And that's all he wants, is just to share the beauty and excitement of that. And some people are like, I'll have none of it. I don't want any of that. It's too complicated. It doesn't fit my worldview, doesn't fit my dogmas, and I think it's evil and scary. And while they're using all the technology we have, while they're using all the energy we have, they're saying it's satanic and, we shouldn't have it. And they're so hypocritical, and they can't see it, Can't see the hypocrisy. But it's very sad. To me, I feel sad for them because they don't understand how beautiful nature is and scientific inquiry is, and all the wonderful instruments that we've built that incredibly creative geniuses have developed over time, that have allowed us to see things that we couldn't see, to understand things that previously we could never have understood. Now, of course, if you lived 300 years BC, BCE, or however you want to say it, you might say, I see the world, what's right in front of me, and I follow what the priests tell me. And of course, if I don't, I'll be in trouble, and I don't want that. And a lot of things could be taken away from you. You could lose everything if you didn't toe the line. Think of the witch burning, in New England and all that. I mean, yeah, thousands and thousands of witches weren't burned, but one is one too many in my book. The Spanish Inquisition? No, thank you. And today it's just like the CIA and the deep state of America running around deciding it has the right to be in everybody's business and to kill people if they deem it necessary, and then they don't understand why people get angry and become terrorists. Relatively poor people with less power, less resources, less money, and they want to fight. I'm not apologizing for murder or terrorism. I'm just saying Sometimes that's the only way you can fight. And our neoconservative our economic system, everything about it is just so predatory. America's a huge bully. And there are diminishing returns now for the whole US neoliberal paradigm. And people are starting to figure that out. They can see it. So they're not going to take it anymore, and they'll become mad as hell. Network. That was a cool movie. So, you know, it's starting to get to the point where people are saying, why should we do business in dollars? And it is true that a one world government would want us all to be on the same ledger. And then you'd have to fit in. You wouldn't have a choice. And you would be monitored 24/7. And would the AI God, the one world government, be nicer for everybody? I don't know. I doubt it. Why? Just because it's a one world government, would it be better than Washington, D.C. or Belgium, Brussels? I don't see any reason to guess that it would be. Or the CCP in China, Beijing. Why would it be better? Not to say that there are a lot of Chinese people who like their situation, but even now that's diminishing, because China can't be the manufacturer of the world anymore. So its economy is going to go down, and demographics are going to go down, and eventually they're going to have food and water shortages because of climate change. It just doesn't look good. So the kind of changes we need are so radical, it's ridiculous. Are we going to turn it over to an AI God who's going to tell us how to live? How much water we can use to take a shower? How much energy we can use every day? Like people talk about, taxing unrenewable resources and not taxing for renewables. Like you eat a peach and go and rake the grass, The peach is renewable, and the caloric energy in your body is renewable, and your muscle power is renewable until you get too old, and so on and so forth. So no taxing of people, no taxing of companies, just taxing the use of resources that cannot be brought back. And that would change things pretty quick. But then you'd say, why? Why can't I have all the water I want? Why can't I have 4 acres of green Kentucky bluegrass? Why? I want my horses. I want my car collection. It's like, it's going to be a thing where people are going to say, you can take this shit away from me over my cold, dead hand, out of my cold, dead hand. I'm not giving up anything. And then you have developing countries saying, why should America have had air conditioners for 60 years or whatever it is, and we can't have ours? Why do we have to use heat pumps and ice evaporation units and so on and so forth? Why? It's not fair. It's true, America used up everything to be rich and powerful. And the world's starting to figure out the accounting. So what's the AI going to do? You can't transfer wealth to the south because you can't sell everything to move the wealth south. You'd have to diminish your using of unrenewable resources past that energy to the south and help them develop in a different way, a completely different economy. So is Brazil and the southern, South America, Central American countries going to develop something like that? Can they? Fuck cryptocurrency, to hell with that. I mean, it is true that we have to use a lot of electricity. So, yeah, if you want to couple it with geothermal or solar or, gas burn-offs, whatever it is, to get the energy for it. It's another one of these things that if unplugged, it's over. One big, huge sunspot, coronal mass ejection, and boom, 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 you're offline for a year. Not to mention Buckminster Fuller-esque smart grids that are completely integrated across the globe so that they're much more efficient. Some complex solutions are important and useful, and some are just a bomb waiting to go off. It is true that we favor complexity, the modern industrial world. And I've said it a million times on my channel that for the vast majority of human beings, all of this stuff is a black box. We don't know anything about it. So I went to business school, so I know about statistics, but I'm not an actuary, I'm not a statistician. I just know about it. I know the importance and the use cases for algebra and trigonometry and geometry and whatever. I understand load-bearing structures, but I'm not an engineer. I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a chemist or whatever. But I understand these domains and what they mean. So that's bully for me. But for a lot of us, we don't even get that, much less understand where the genies came from. And what happens in the black box, which is your smartphone in your pocket. What's going on in that fucking thing? And they can't even recycle. They couldn't recycle iPhones before. They had to build a robot because they're so tightly engineered and they're so complex that, it was impossible to take all the components apart efficiently and reuse bits of it. So that thing in your drawer, all those old phones, they just go in a landfill. It's all wasted. So will AI help us improve efficiency? Yes. But there's Javan's paradox as well. So every time you get more efficient, you wind up using more anyway on a net basis. Bom dia. So it's a conundrum. And there are lots of things like this. I post a lot of this stuff on Facebook page. I know it's useless, but it's my curated content, and it's like what I'm thinking is probably interesting or what I think people need to know. Who am I? I don't know. I'm just a curious guy. But you can check it out if you want. So if you look deeper into things, you find out that most of us just think very simplistically about stuff. You don't really understand. That's a cute little church. Chapel. Igreja. Pavilion. So, we don't know. So how do you think the powers that be, whether you like them or not, are going to engineer these AIs that are going to operate and run everything? For your benefit? No. Profits first, my friends. There's no corporation or individual on earth, well, there are individuals and communities, but that want anything less than profits first. That's the way our whole global culture is organized. Whether it's systemic in terms of legal structures and so on, or if it's corruption, it's all about the money and what you can do with it. And how you can show people that you're better because you're in a boss suit, a real boss suit, not a Beijing boss suit. And you can have a patio as big as your house and 2 swimming pools. So there, entertain. So I don't think all these corporations are really gonna slow down and start doing the hard work of telling you might have to live differently. You might have to change. Change is so stressful. I didn't even like moving. It was so difficult. And I just couldn't take it. Some friends who visit me here, they don't travel that much, and they're really kind of scared and excited. Like, can I communicate with people? Will they speak English? Is it dangerous? You know, they worry. And since I've been traveling my whole life, maybe I don't worry enough. But, you know, change is difficult. And telling people, you know, eat beef maybe twice a week. It's like, are you kidding me? Say hello to my little friend. And he points the grenade launcher at you. Tell me how much beef I can eat, you son of a bitch. I'm gonna kill you. And that's how people are. And they're so intensely ideological. There's a nice view here. I always like this view. Harsh light, I know. See, you got the fake grass there. So that's not gonna require that much water. But the plastics, once it is done being used, that's a permanent blight on the ecosystem. So you might want to put some rocks in there, some dirt, and some ground cover that doesn't need much water instead of the plastic grass. But what, I'm going to tell that guy to give up his nice green fake lawn that he worked so hard to afford? Son, I grew up with grass, and if I'm going to give it up, I'm still going to look at something that looks like grass, and there's nothing you can do to stop me, boy. Now move along and take that damn video camera with you. If I find that content online, I'm going to sue you. Sir, I'm sorry. So anyway, that's how things are going to sort themselves out, folks. Yeah, so I was listening to John Vervaeke, and he wanders on about this and that, you know. Instead of talking about all these complex things, Veblen and Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and quoting this book and that book and the other book, you can figure this stuff out intuitively. If you think about the last 10 years, or since you had an iPhone, and imagine all the complex challenges that we face right now, and think to yourself, you know, what government NGO, nonprofit organization, whatever, individual around the world has the capabilities to sort this stuff out. I mean, the only thing America and Russia could figure out over the last 10 years was how to go to war. They couldn't sort out the diplomacy. They couldn't sort out the backroom negotiations. They couldn't transcend their ideologies. They couldn't. They couldn't figure it out. The only thing to do was push, 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 and then push back, and then go to war. That's the best they could do. And tens of thousands of people lost their lives so far. You got millions of refugees. Are these people going to go back to Ukraine after the war ends? How will it be rebuilt? Will it be Russian minerals and energy that rebuilds Ukraine for some reason? It might rebuild what it took, but is it going to be American taxpayers? Where are we going to borrow the money? We're going to print it, and then we're going to go around the world and take those minerals and rare earths and everything that we need and rebuild a devastated country. That's the best we can do. So you can imagine when we prompt and train our AI God, what's going to happen. It's going to be a shit show, just like it is now. With all the science and information technology, engineering, it's going to be like it is now, only it's going to be a little bit worse because the Earth's atmosphere is going to be hotter, the oceans are going to be hotter, AMOC is going to stop, that's going to shift all the weather patterns. You're going to have problem feeding people, demographics, it's going to shift. And like I say all the time, circumstances is the most brutal dictator known to human civilization. Once the house of cards falls, it happens quick, like an earthquake, like a bomb blast. And all you can do at that point is panic and hope that you don't get pinned under a slab of concrete or whatever. And then hope that you have the resilience, the strength, the courage to suffer, to live a life that's more uncomfortable than you've ever known, but not voluntarily, not weaning yourself off of all the addictions bit by bit, so that you can learn how to live a fulfilling, meaningful, exciting, beautiful, loving life with a little bit less stuff, using a little bit less energy. You can't figure that out. But you will be forced to figure stuff out when the next global economic depression happens. You know, when the shoe drops, you'll figure it out because you'll have to. And then you hope at that time that you're strong enough to deal with it. If there's a nuclear war and I have to spend the next year and a half, you know, sick, dying of cancer because of radiation poisoning or whatever, that will be my fate. And there was nothing I could do about it. I couldn't find a better leader, grassroots organization to put Obama in the White House. And what happens? Not a damn thing. Because he's a clerk for the system. He works for the players who run huge corporations they call people in service of a super organism that eats oil and gas voraciously to keep producing stuff that make us believe we're living the high life. So yeah, a lot of Nate Hagen's in there, but a lot of Vaclav Smil in there too. And I think less interesting for me are all of these abstract fellas like Hall and Vervaeke. I mean, I read Joseph Campbell. It's profound and fun stuff to think about. You know, I like to get together with a friend. If we don't have the wisdom to, like, you know, save money, not spend too much, not borrow too much, not get addicted to everything in the universe, including our video games, and our social media profiles and all that kind of stuff. What makes us think that a big daddy is going to spank us, a big AI daddy, and make us behave? You don't like CCP, you don't like China, you hate Xi Jinping. And as good daddies, they're trying to like save the people from themselves, because China has a history where Chinese people just kill each other like crazy, and tens of millions of people die. Tens of millions of people starve to death. That's the history of the Soviet Union and Russia. They know what it's like to suffer and die. Do you think the Poles and the Lithuanians and the French, all the NATO little soldiers, are going to go in there and just eat it? They want to be at home playing their video games. They want to go to Oppenheimer at the mall and buy some fast fashion. They don't want to die in Ukraine. That's absurd. But the gamers, the players, don't mind if Ukrainian people and Russian people die over there. They don't care. At the end of the day, they get paid by military-industrial complex corporations and other people to play the game. And we are going to hit this moment where there is going to be a Thucydides trap, and there is going to be competition for more scarce resources. So if Sunak and the UK want to drill baby drill all around the UK, it's still going to be diminishing returns, and it's not going to help the UK. It's not going to help British people at all, because most of the oil that they dig up, that they drill up, is going to go to the market, the free market, and sold for the highest price it can get to whoever buys it. And it's not going to help one British person get health care, get an education, or pay the rent, or buy an apple, or some spuds. That's the game, people. So, yeah, figure out your DAO, build your community, get some young people together and develop your own AI to run your systems on the farm, on the ranch. You know, glorify all that Yellowstone stuff. The boys having coffee early in the morning, getting ready to go round up some cattle for some branding, throwing bodies into a pit, fighting like crazy to keep the damn tourists out. You know, this glorified, competitive, violent BS, you know, somehow it's so beautiful. Well, it is, but it's not the be-all and end-all. And I don't know any Christians who want to be Christ-like. They don't. Their Jesus has an AR-15, and he's willing to throw down. So it's a conundrum. So to cut this little series off, because it's gone too long and nobody cares. If we create the AI God, the AI God's going to be shit, crap. And I wish I believed it was different, that a whole bunch of wise and brilliant people and entrepreneurs and leaders would get together and train that AI system to do the best thing for all of us. Because if we're not, you know, doing the best thing for all of us on the whole planet, then the destruction that the colonialists or the neo-colonialists, or maybe that doesn't exist, the capitalists, the whatever, is going to cause so much havoc that it's not going to help much anyway. It's just going to make their rape of the planet that much more efficient. And you're not in the picture unless you want to be, somehow. Don't follow me. I can't help anybody, and you know that. And you probably think there's nothing I can do. Well, you can. The only thing I think we can do is educate ourselves and be ready for what's coming as best we can, and try to help out a little bit if we can, if we have the opportunity, the resources, the wherewithal. I might need somebody to help me out here someday, over here. And the neighbors are so sweet, they bring me food all the time. Surrounded by orchards and small farms. I decided to live like this, but I'm not a farmer. You know, it's going to be a big learning curve for a 70-year-old guy. to sort this stuff out. But if you're young, I think you can get ahead of the curve and maybe have some agency and some power and some ability to do great things with these tools that we have, with science, engineering, and technology, with artificial intelligence, with ideas, thoughts, and feelings that include religion and philosophy of science, art, poetry, music, theater, film, all that kind of stuff. A beautiful culture where there's diversity and it's a multipolar world and people aren't as greedy, don't use as much stuff, focus more on relationships and things that we know make us happy or happier, and kind of wean ourselves off slowly but surely, like coming off of heroin or whatever, of all the addictions that we have to material goods, to shopping, to sex, to supernormal stimuli, that thing. And pay attention to the agridors, train our AIs, curate our content carefully, make our own RSS feeds, be careful of what we consume information-wise, learn how to figure out a deep fake on our own, slow down before we make judgments, before we judge other people, before we decide we know something, maybe do a little bit of work, a little bit of reading, investigation. If we don't know how to read a science paper, we can go online and learn how to read a science paper. If we don't understand what trigonometry is or chemistry is or another domain, we can go online and we can figure it out before we're offline, before the network goes down. Let's hope it doesn't happen for a long time, but it could. There are outlier black swan events and so on that could crash the whole thing in a heartbeat. But I'm not that kind of doomsday prepper. I'm the kind that thinks that you can start today educating yourself, learning how to think better. You think you're a critical thinker, you're not, probably. Or you think you're a skeptic, you're not. You're full of biases, you're full of ideological pollution, you're full of misinformation, malinformation, disinformation. There's a lot of garbage in there. And it's harder than you think to sort it all out. You don't have to be like me, think like me, see the world like I do. Doesn't matter. But thinking clearly, keeping your lights on, this is really important stuff. And you have the power to do that now. You can literally get together with people and build something. Something that's, I hate the word, sustainable. Something that's healthier, better for you and yours and your friends. And we can probably start to tell our leaders that we don't think they're all that we think they're kind of stupid, kind of greedy, that their motivated thinking is all wrong, that their incentives are all wrong. And we can say, no, we're not going to take it anymore, damn it. You don't have to take up arms. It doesn't have to be a violent revolution. We can just put our voices in their ears and tell them, we're not going to hire them anymore. And sorry, dude, you don't get paid that much. No. The whole world just strikes and says to hell with it. I don't care if I drink tea for 9 months and my diet shifts a little bit and I lose some weight and I have to get excited about doing push-ups and yoga or playing music with my friends down the road, rather than sitting online all day in some forum debating shit or on Twitter. People like Musk are con men, they're scam artists. They don't give a damn about you, they're playing you 24/7. You need heroes, I get it. I'd rather, between a bad and a really bad thing, I'd rather your hero was Jesus Christ and you were an Orthodox Christian and thinking about virtues and vices, or a decent Muslim person or Hindu person or whatever tradition that you come from, than one of these people lapping up this grotesque, ridiculous, fast food, fast brain ideology on the internet, and this incredible materialistic nonsense. I wish you could break away from those addictions and look at something better. I'm not saying trad is the way to go. Whatever floats your boat, man. I love Richard Dawkins. I love all of his books. And I sympathize with him. I wouldn't want to live in a world where evidence didn't matter either. Do I want to go back to ancient Rome and see what it was like, be a fly on the wall? Hell yeah, baby. Put me in that goddamn machine. But we can only travel to the future. That's physics. And the future is in our mind, in our imagination. We have the power, if we have the will, to create a better future. All right, thank you for listening. Bouillon Tea, out.